Hi, and welcome to my video on the Criterion Challenge for 2022. If you haven't heard of it, it's a challenge where you are supposed to watch 52 films in different categories over the period of a year. These films all have to be part of the Criterion Collection. If I look different or sound different, it's because I'm filming this on my phone camera rather than on my laptop webcam, because I've been having a lot of audio issues in the past, and I've wanted to see if this will fix it. This video is mostly going to be a ranking with some potentially short reviews if I have something specific to say about these films. I've ranked these films from 1 to 52. I will explain that later. And I've also segmented them into sections or in categories. There's one section is hated, one section is mediocre or disliked, one section is okay, one section is decent, the other section is things that I would recommend, and of course the one unranked thing, which is Nanook of the North. It is part of the category number 2, films made in the 1920s. It is a silent film. It is a documentary. That is why I've not ranked it, because I don't rate or rank any documentaries or short films for that matter. And what I will say is it is a silent film. There is a version from 1939 that does have some spoken dialogue or spoken words. I think it's probably just the title cards that they've read out instead of having the title cards. Anyways, so it's a slice of life documentary. As a slice of life documentary, it didn't engage me as much as I would have hoped, and I would say I would recommend 2 other short film documentaries in place of this: Nuisance Bear and Nalujic Night. I want to start out as well with a disclaimer before I get into my proper ranking that some of these cast members and directors and potentially crew members have done terrible things, and I did not know of this before the choosing of these films. I probably didn't even know these directors or actors' names, so I want to apologize for some of that selection, but I can't change it now, so they will be in this list, and I will do better in future in choosing what movies I watch and review. Without any further ado, let's get on to the ranking. So we'll start off with the things that I hated. Luckily, there was only 2 of them, so it should be fairly short. At the bottom of the list is number 51, Knife in the Water from 1962. This was part of category 25, Made in Poland. At number 50 is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button from 2008. This was part of the category number 10, Films of the 2000s. I also have a full review for this film in my director review for David Fincher. If you're interested, I will include a link in the comments as well as a link in the cards in the annotations. And now moving on to the things that I found were mediocre or that I disliked. At number 49 is Jean Dielman 23 Quai de Commerce 1080 Bruxelles from 1975. This actually recently reached the top of the Sight and Sound poll. It is part of the category number 16, directed by Chantal Akerman. It's a film that I couldn't really get along with. It really didn't work with my ADHD. I found it looked beautiful, but the lack of dialogue and the constant lingering mundane scenes that lasted 5 or more minutes just couldn't really hold my attention. I think it's very much a film that you experience, but it's not a great experience, or it wasn't a great experience for me. Some people might have a different feeling on that, and that's fine by them. At number 48 is Anatomy of a Murder from 1959. This is part of the category number 39, which is Watch a Film on the Hollywood Classics list. At number 47 is Ghost World from 2001. This was part of category 50, which is random number generation. So it's basically you Google the random number generator and generate it from a random number from 1 to the amount of films on the Criterion Collection with a spine number, and whatever film that is, you have to watch it. I wasn't a huge fan of the story of this film. I also wasn't a huge fan of the acting of this film, especially from Scarlett Johansson. Thora Bush was actually outshining her a lot in this film. I also had read a little bit about the original story that film was based on, and I think the original story was a lot better than what we were shown in the film. At number 46 is Blue is the Warmest Color from 2013. This was part of category number 15, which is watch a film by a director whose work you haven't seen before. In terms of this film, I had a hard time. I found things that worked and things that didn't work. A lot of things that didn't. The things that didn't work was the sex scenes and the story. There was a lot of things that really had issues. I thought the acting was pretty good, but the story really held it back. The time jumps also held it back, held you back from really connecting with the characters and their story as they were going through life. I've also heard a lot of criticisms about this film and its portrayal of LGBTQ issues, and I will be honest, it's not something that I would recommend at all. At number 45 is Being John Malkovich from 1999. This is part of the category number 24, Made in the United States. I will have a review for this film in my Spike Jonze director review, which I've already filmed. I just need to edit. It will probably be coming out in the next couple of weeks after I do a couple of the other videos for the end of year / beginning of this year type of thing. So let's go on from now to number 44, which is An Angel at My Table from 1990. This was part of category number 49, Agnes Varda's Closet Picks. There wasn't too much to say about this film other than I found it kind of boring as a biopic, and it just didn't really work for me. I think I fell asleep briefly. I don't know if I ended up going back and checking out some of the stuff. Either way, I was probably fighting sleep. So yeah, it was not an easy watch for me. At number 43 is The Last Picture Show, which is part of category number 30, watch a film from the America Lost and Found, the BBS Story Collection. This was something, again, I just couldn't really resonate with, so I was able to pay attention. I watched the entire thing, as I did with most of the things on this list. It's just, it didn't really resonate with me. At number 42 is World on a Wire, which is part of category number 17, directed by Rainer Werner Fassbinder. This was a film that actually surprisingly is a TV movie that is on the Criterion Collection, and it was surprisingly decent for a TV movie. I really was enjoying the first half. It's just the second half of this film that really kind of just didn't work for me, and that's a real disappointment because it had everything going for it in the first half. I think they needed to work it out a little bit, and it could have been a decent movie. At number 41 is The Importance of Being Earnest, which is from 1952. It's part of the collection, category number 5, films from the 1950s. It was a film that I had some issues with the characters' portrayals and just some of the oddness. One of the characters, and spoilers for the movie, is basically revealed to be cousins with this other character, and they still want to get married at the end, which kind of seems very wrong. So yeah, there was definitely some moments that were kind of funny, but again, as it being portrayed as or supposed to be a comedy, it just didn't really work for me. At number 40 is The Thin Red Line, which was from 1998. It's part of category number 12. The genre had to be a war film. I watched it as part of a series of films by Terrence Malick. I found this was my favorite of the bunch, but still not something that I really enjoyed. So, especially comparing it to other war films, this is not something I found that great as a war film. At number 39 is Enter the Dragon from 1973. This was part of category number 7, films from the 1970s. I know a lot of people are going to criticize me for putting it this low and not enjoying the movie, but it's just something that didn't really work for me. I found a lot of the dialogue actually quite distracting. It sounded most, if not all, dubbed over, and I really loathe dubbing in live action. I've only seen the first Bond movie. I plan on rectifying that at some point this year. I planned on doing it last year, but didn't end up doing that. So anyways, if I recall correctly, the characters in that film that I found were more charming and had more gravitas than any of the characters in this film. I wish I had enjoyed this film, but I sadly found myself briefly falling asleep multiple times. So it was like probably a minute or two that I may have missed out on. At number 38 is a film called Cleo from 5 to 7. It is part of category 42, starring Anna Karina. This was a French film. It's surprising because I did find I enjoyed some other French films on this list, but this one wasn't one that I really enjoyed. I mean, there's a couple of them that obviously I didn't. Jeanne Dielman is another French film, so it's very hit and miss when it comes to French films, I guess. At number 37, another French film, Beau Travail, which is part of category from 1999. Part of category 19, directed by Claire Denis, one of the later films that I ended up watching. I found it like probably closer to the okay than not, but it's still part of the mediocre disliked category. And finally, the last film in this section, it is Yi Yi from 2000, which is part of category number 44, Paul Dano's Closet Picks. It was something that I found some enjoyment, especially early on, but later on it kind of really slowed down and I just couldn't keep engaged near the end. Now let's move on to the films that I thought were okay. So usually things that I rated a 3 out of 5. So at number 35 is Tuki Buki from 1973. This was part of category number 28, made in Senegal. At number 34 is Life of Brian from 1979. This is part of category number 29. Watch a film that has an out-of-print physical release. This means that they're not making any more physical copies of it. If you want to see my review for this film, it is on my franchise reviews on Monty Python films. I released that video back in April. I'll include a link in the description down below, as well as in the annotation cards. At number 33 is Punch Drunk Love from 2002. This was part of the category number 20, Isabelle Sandoval's Top 10. I was planning on doing a Paul Thomas Anderson director review, didn't end up doing it, so I will have a director ranking on my Letterboxd profile. I can include a link to that in my description, as well as one of the other directors that has plenty of films that are on this list. At number 32 is The Man Who Knew Too Much. This is from 1934, the original version, not the remake that Alfred Hitchcock had also done. They're both directed by Alfred Hitchcock. This is part of category number 3, films from the 1930s. At number 31 is The Virgin Suicides, which is from 1999. This is part of category number 9, films from the 1990s. If you want to see my full review on that, it is in a review from a previous video. I will link that in the description below and annotation cards. At number 30 is Repulsion from 1965. This is part of category number 41, starring Catherine Deneuve. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Deneuve, like Denis Villeneuve. Anyways, so I will say that I'm not glad that it ended up this high on the list, because it is a film from Roman Polanski, and I felt repulsion at him and a lot of the men in this film. Not the actors, but the characters. And I thought I would hate it because he directed Knife in the Water, which is at the bottom of this list. But surprisingly, I think it got its message across quite well, especially about the main character Carol's trauma at the hands of men and how men make women feel uncomfortable. Honestly, they could remake the film today with some tweaks, and I think it would still be quite relevant. At number 29 is The Fire Within from 1963. This is part of category number 43, starring Jean Moreau. Again, it was something that I thought was okay. Not great, but okay. At number 28 is a film called Life is Sweet. This film came out in 1990. It is part of category 47, Sean Baker's Closet Picks. To end off the category of films that I found okay, it is at number 27, Fast Times at Ridgemont High from 1982. This is part of category number 8, films from the 1980s. If you want to see a full review for this film, I have done it before. Again, description, annotation cards. Now we're moving on to films that I thought were decent. So at number 26 is Hiroshima Mon Amour from 1959. This is from category number 51. Watch a film featured in any of the essential art house box sets. I honestly wasn't expecting this from this film. I found it made brilliant choices. I thought the script was quite poignant, and it gave off stage play vibes. The acting was pretty good. This being Emmanuel Riva's feature debut. Some might find it a bit slow, which I could agree with. But at the same time, it is a short film at only an hour and a half, so it's not too bad. I also realized that at 26, this is where we get the turning point of things that are on the top half of the overall ranking. So at number 25 is Y Tu Mamá También, which is from 2001. It is from category number 27, made in Mexico. I again had thought I was going to make a Alfonso Cuarón overall direct review. I didn't end up feeling there was much to say about all of his films, so I did not end up making that video. But I think I might be doing a director ranking. I'm not too sure of that on Letterboxd. So if I do, I will include a link in the description down below. If I do not, then yeah, I can't say anything about that. But there was only one film of his filmography that I wasn't able to watch, Solo con tu pareja. So that's one thing that I'm looking forward to checking out. At number 24 is Tokyo Story from 1953. This is part of category number 48, Amy Heckerling's Closet Picks, also the director of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. At number 23 is The Darjeeling Limited from 2007. This is part of category number 38, Watch a Film on the Summer Travels List. Back in April of this year, I had decided to watch all of Wes Anderson's filmography. I did not make a review for that. I was planning on doing that. I just didn't feel there was that much to say about a lot of these films. I found them, for the most part, enjoyable. So I will say that I do have a director ranking for that. I know that for a fact. So I'll try to put that out on Letterboxd and include a link in the description. At number 23 is The Last Temptation of Christ. This is from 1988. It is directed by Martin Scorsese. I think it may have been one of the earlier films that I've seen from Martin Scorsese. I don't know how many films of his I've seen. It is part of category number 23, Richard Linklater's Top 10. He will show up on this list somewhere as well. Just a little bit of a tease for you there. I ended up watching this on Easter, and I found myself enjoying it for the most part. There is a bit of a historical department near the end. It's kind of like a Quentin Tarantino film in that regard. But overall, it worked for me. At number 21 is A Night to Remember. This is from 1958. It's about the Titanic. It is a part of category number 31, Watch a Film with a Spine number of 1 to 100. It is something that people have, in the reviews of this film, I did notice they compared a lot of what James Cameron did in his version of Titanic to what this film had done, and basically said some of the stuff were ripped off. I am planning on seeing James Cameron's version of Titanic in theaters when it is re-released in IMAX 3D in February. At number 20 is the last film I had watched on this challenge as going through it. It was from 1960, Spartacus. And then it is part of category number 6, films from the 1960s. I do feel as though this film was great. It just didn't use its time as wisely as other films did, especially with having an overture and a long interlude in the middle of the film. That's mostly what I mention in my Letterboxd review, so if you don't care about my rant on this, don't check it out. But if you're interested, it's on Letterboxd. I'm going to be including a link to the whole Criterion Collection, or whole Criterion Challenge for this year, so just you can check in the description down below. So at number 19 is Notorious from 1946. Again, another Alfred Hitchcock film that I watched for this Criterion Challenge. It is part of category number 4, films from the 1940s. At number 18 is Sex, Lies, and Videotape from 1989. It is part of category number 33, Cannes Film Festival Winners. This is a film directed by Steven Soderbergh. I found it for the most part enjoyable. Just some flaws in there. Didn't really write a review for that, so I can't really refer back to much of anything about it. Anyways, let's move on to number 17. Where is the Friend's House? From 1987. This is part of category number 26, Made in Iran. I was honestly very surprised by this film. I was kind of hesitant about how I would feel about it going into it, but luckily I came out, for the most part, enjoying it. I do think it needed some little tightening up there, but otherwise it was a pretty good film. I'd be kind of interested to see where the franchise kind of went, because the director of this film did make 2 pseudo sequels for this film that you can check out as well. I think they're both also a part of the Criterion Collection, so I will maybe check them out at some point. At number 16 is In the Mood for Love. This is a film from 2000. It is directed by Wong Kar-wai, and also that was the category number 16, I believe, or no, 18. Number 18, directed by Wong Kar-wai. This was something where I could see a lot of similarities in the framing and color grading of this film to some scenes in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which made me wonder if they had taken inspiration from this film for those specific scenes. I didn't have much else to say about this film. I did find it enjoyable. I would be interested in seeing where this went, because I do believe he made pseudo-sequels to this film as well. At number 15 is Hunger. This is a film from 2008. It is part of category number 46, Michael K. Williams' Closet Picks. Rest in peace. And I did do a full review for this film in my Steve McQueen director review, if you want to check it out. And then again, at number 14 is Rushmore from 1998. This was part of category number 1, Watch a Movie from the Year You Were Born. This was the second feature film that Wes Anderson directed. I thought it was technically, on a technical scale, it was better than his previous film, Bottle Rocket, which is also part of the Criterion Collection, just not part of this challenge that I did. But the story was about on par. It was still engaging. It was well acted, but I was hoping to see some improvement on this, and I gladly did. There was some other films on this list and not on this list that I really did enjoy quite a bit. At number 13 is a film called Paris, Texas. This film is from 1984. It is part of category number 45, Ethan Hawke and Jonathan Mark Sherman's Closet Picks. There was some things that I enjoyed about this film and some things I didn't, especially the age gap between our two parents, the two biological parents. I believe the one guy seemed to be at least in his 40s, maybe even in his 50s, and the woman he's with is in her 20s. And apparently they met, I think it was 5 or 6 years before then, so that's illegal. Again, that's the same problem I had with some of these other films on the list, like Blue is the Warmest Color. Again, same issue with an illegal relationship. It's a relationship with a minor. Like, why were some of these directors kind of obsessed with this? I have no clue. At number 12 is Godzilla from 1954. It is part of category number 13, which was a film in the science fiction genre. I felt that the third act of this film tied everything together very well, and it showed how humanity destroyed the world, or is destroying the world, by twisting and using the inventions for destruction. So much so that when a scientist creates something to destroy a creature of destruction, he hesitates out of fear that somebody will use it for nefarious purposes. I enjoyed this more than I thought, because I had only seen the 2014 Godzilla film and its sequel, and I love this movie compared to those terrible reiterations. This was just leaps and bounds better. If you watch any Godzilla movie, watch the original. Don't watch the sequels. Don't watch the reboot. I haven't seen the sequels of this, so I can't vouch for that, but I've heard they're pretty bad. But yeah, definitely the reboot version from 2014 garbage. The sequel, garbage. Don't watch those. Watch this instead. Now we're moving on to the final section of this ranking, the films that I would recommend. So the top 11. Sadly, I couldn't just get it to top 10. So we'll start with the number 11 film that just missed the top 10. And that film is The Breakfast Club from 1985. This is part of category number 35, Growing Pains. So watch a coming-of-age film. This was a film that I really enjoyed. I do have a review for it in my John Hughes director review, if you want to check that out. Description, annotation cards. At number 10 is Blue Velvet from 1986. This is part of category number 34, Midnight Madness, watch a cult classic. A film that I surprisingly enjoyed. I didn't really know much of anything going into it. I had heard some poor reviews or poor expectations from other people, so I was kind of nervous going into it, but actually ended up really enjoying it. At number 9 is a film called High and Low from 1963, directed by Akira Kurosawa. It is part of category number 21, Bill Hader's Top 10. At number 8 is a movie, Watership Down, from 1978. It is part of category number 40, watch a film from the Animation Before the 2000s list. It was something that I was really surprised about. I was really surprised. It went quite dark, and, you know, it really shows that animation, while it can be okay for children to watch, I would kind of say you have to gauge this for your own self and for what you think your children can handle. But it is quite a dark film with, I believe there was some scenes where there was some drawn blood, and there was definitely some interesting religious allegories with this film that I was really engaged by. It's not a long film, so it's something that you can easily pop in and watch. I think it was only an hour, 20 minutes, an hour and a half at most. So it's something very quick. I'd recommend it. Check it out. At number 7 is Blowout from 1981. This was part of category number 32. Watch a film with a spine number 500 to 600. It was a film that I quite enjoyed. I thought it was a really interesting look at film and audio and all these things. I would definitely recommend checking that out. At number 6 is another film from Akira Kurosawa. It is Seven Samurai from 1954. This was part of category number 52. Watch any Criterion film on your watch list. So this was something that I was putting off a little bit, but I finally got to check it out and enjoyed it quite a bit, despite its 3-hour plus runtime. At number 5 is A Raisin in the Sun. This is a film from 1961. It is part of category number 36, Stage to Screen. Watch a stage adaptation. This was something that I did fall asleep while watching briefly. That happens a lot, especially because I watch films late at night. But I did go back and check out what I had missed. And what I had missed, because I was a little bit confused when I came back. But then after I adjusted, and then I did end up watching that section again. And it was something that I really did find impacted me. At number 4 is Before Midnight. This was a film from 2013. It is part of the category 11, films from the 2010s. Out of the entire trilogy, which I watched all 3 of them back to back, I think this was the best of the trilogy. I think this was really a surprisingly great trilogy. I mean, it shouldn't have been surprising. Richard Linklater does make some pretty good films, like School of Rock, which was a childhood favorite of mine. So it shouldn't be shocking that he made a great trilogy that follows this couple through their lives. Now, the top 3. At number 3 is Fantastic Mr. Fox from 2009. This is part of category number 22, Anna Lily Amirpour's Top 10. This was a film I really enjoyed. One of the top of the Wes Anderson films. I do think I have right now Isle of Dogs still higher, but that's probably because it was the first film of Wes Anderson's that I had ever seen, so it might have that bias of being the first. At number 2 is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. This is a film from 2019. It is part of category 37 out at Criterion. Watch an LGBTQ film. This was something that I had watched, and I actually really felt kind of bad for this film because it was competing against Parasite, which it had barely, if any, chance against in winning the Best International Feature Oscar, and definitely not a shot of beating it at the Best Picture. It's sad that it kind of has been overshadowed and overlooked, but this is a great film that I would absolutely recommend checking out. And finally, at number 1, we have The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. This is a film from 1964. It is part of category number 14, a film that had to be part of the musical or music-themed genre. The concept behind this movie musical, where every line of dialogue is sung, is something that I haven't seen much of in any other movie musicals, and I believe it would only work in jazz like this film, or maybe in rap or hip-hop like in Hamilton. I really enjoyed the music, and the actors were all great singers. The cinematography worked very well and gave it an almost stage play feel to it. The editing choices were also fantastic. The story is something that you don't see much of in a romance and is more realistic in how the two main characters' stories end up. I would absolutely recommend checking this out. It was a film that I adored. It's not a long film. I believe it was only an hour and a half. Let me just check here. It is not, 91 minutes. Very, very much tight 90 minutes. Absolutely something that you can spend a quick hour and a half and check out. It is a really good film. I'd absolutely recommend checking it out. It is at the top of my list for the Criterion Challenge of 2022. So you may be wondering, would I do this challenge again? And what I will say is, if you had asked me a few weeks ago, even a month ago, I would say, yeah, you know what, probably no. I found there was a lot of stuff that I didn't really enjoy. But then I saw the categories for this year, 2023, and I am in. I'm in, but I'm changing my strategy. I'm choosing films differently because most of the films on this list I actually chose at random. I put them all in a list, put them all in a wheel, and just generated that. It took incredibly long to create this list, but I ended up with a lot of films that I wasn't a huge fan of. So hopefully by changing my strategy this year, I'll find a lot more films that I do enjoy. And hopefully you can join me. I do find it's great to expand your movie horizons, and it's great to be watching films that you may have been putting off for quite a few years, because I would have wanted to watch a lot of the films by Wes Anderson, but I just didn't have the time or the effort to really seek them out. But now I have seen every single one he's made and am very interested in seeing where he goes in the future, as well as a lot of these other directors. I was surprised that I loved this French film, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, directed by Jacques Demy, and am very interested in checking out his other films, especially if they're similar to this in form of a musical that is the entire dialogue is sung. So I'd absolutely recommend checking it out if you're interested. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please give this the thumbs up. If you like to see more from me, hit the subscribe button. If you have anything to say about these movies, anything about the Criterion Challenge, maybe you've decided to take it on for this year, you still have basically the entire year to work on it, so please leave a comment down below. Maybe I'll check out your lists, and see what you've got, and maybe I'll see some stuff that I'm interested in on your lists. I will be coming out with a few videos really soon. I will be coming out with a best and worst, or my favorite and least favorite of 2022. I will also be coming out with my most anticipated films of 2023. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I have a Spike Jonze director review where I'm comparing his first 2 films to his second 2 films. And I've already filmed that. I will be coming out with that after these next 2 videos. Thanks again for watching, and have a great year. Have a great Happy New Year. All that. Thanks.